Florida Avenue Project, or the Florida Projects, is a public housing project in the city of New Orleans. The Florida, aka Florida, was built in 1946 on an 18.5-acre tract of land bounded by Florida Avenue, North, Durgeoir, Mazant, and Gallier Streets in the upper Ninth Ward. The Florida was originally built for whites, but was desegregated by the 1970s, becoming predominantly a black project. In the late 80s to the early 90s, the Florida and the D will be dubbed as the most violent housing projects in the nation. In 1994, the Florida will record the highest homicide rate out of all Hano projects with 26 slayings, surpassing the 13 killings in a Desire, which had previously held the highest record for homicides the previous year.
New Orleans' murder rate has nearly doubled this weekend. 9 people were killed throughout the city, the latest less than 2 hours ago.
Per the NOPD, majority of the killings in the Florida were fueled by drug wars. The rise in homicides in the Florida and Desire will contribute to the NO becoming the murder capital of America. That year, the city's homicide rate would reach 424 homicides, with 47 of those killings happening in the projects. Let's fast forward. The year is 2010, 5 years after Hurricane Katrina. Majority of the hustlers and killers had reestablished themselves in the city. The number of murders in New Orleans remained stubbornly high, with 175 killings in 2010 compared to 174 in 2009.
Well, 2010 was a violent year in New Orleans. We ended the year with a murder rate up 1 from 2009. WDSU reporter Sydney Chewin spoke to community activists about what we can do to bring those numbers down.
On this last day of 2010, Brother Al Mims stands under the gray sky, staring at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s image.
He would be turned over in his grave. He'd be very disappointed.
So far, there have been 175 murders in New Orleans. That's 1 more than last year, but down from 2008 when there were 179 murders.
People need to understand that all of us are potential victims.
That was proven time and again. Innocent people at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like 2-year-old Jeremy Gelman killed by a stray bullet. Pat O'Brien's bartender Earl Wheeler murdered during an argument. Nursing student Kendall Raines killed in a drive-by shooting. 2010 also saw the high-profile murders of rappers Anthony Barre, known as Messy Maya, and Renetta Lowe, better known as Magnolia Shorty.
Our community saying enough is enough is what's going to help us turn this tide around.
And part of that, according to Reverend Alden E. Cotton, the community needs to realize how precious life is. It's something he learned at age 14 when he lost both of his legs in a train accident.
When you go through things like that, you realize material things really don't matter when you're at the point of losing your life.
But as we begin a new year, both Cotton and Mims are challenging the community to do its part to make the streets safer, reminding them of King's message of nonviolence.
We need to remember the dream. Don't kill a dream.
On your side, I'm Sydney Chewin, WDSU News.
And there were 52 murders for 2010 in Jefferson Parish. That's 1 more than 2009, but that's up from 2008 when there were 37 murders.
According to the FBI, despite some declines in violent crime, New Orleans will continue to have the highest murder rate in the nation. Let's get back to the upper Ninth Ward. As the sun was set on April 12th of 2010, the D Strip will be down 1 to 3. 3 of their partners had been deleted versus 1 on the side of their ops. However, the war will be far from over. Earlier that same day, the dudes of the G Strip were josing by the wing shack on Desire in the Ninth Ward. Out of nowhere, they would spot Lloyd Slugger Curry, aka Shitty, sitting in a whip across the street. Years earlier, Shitty and Breezy used to be partners. They started slanging their duty together after Hurricane Katrina. The two would even drive to Texas to copy half a bird of yayo with the insurance money from Breezy's FEMA check for his Honda Accord. The plan was to get on their feet and take over the game. However, that relationship would not last long. Shitty would catch a jolt and be taken off the streets. Instead of Breezy looking out for him while he was locked up, Breezy would backdoor and go with the move. Upon Shitty's release, he promised to fuck over that boy. It was this that would have Breezy spooking off of Chedda, wanting to whack him before Chedda would crush him first. Let's rewind to the Wing Shack. Bergie Stewart, aka Rabbit, who had chosen sides, decided to run with Breezy and Merle instead of Chedda. While they were all hanging out by the Wing Shack, Rabbit started getting a bad feeling that something was about to go down. Minutes later, everyone would scatter and break out running. Before they knew it, a whip had pulled up, dumping shots. Breezy would immediately jump off the porch and dive under the house until the shooting had stopped. When he would stick his head from underneath the house, half of Terrence Butler, aka Chedda Black's, face had been blown off. Both Chedda Black and Derrick Jones, aka Gucci Man, had been crushed. Breezy, Rabbit, and Merle would all hop in Merle's Audi, catching up with Quelton, Gutter, Broussard on Cluett Street. Shots would ring out. It would all start hitting. Breezy would let off like 30 times. Rabbit would be accidentally hit in the arm during the shooting. Elton Fields, aka Bo, and Corey Lewis, aka Cole, would jump a fence and get away. In another shooting that would take place on Almanasta Avenue, Jesse Terry, aka G-Strip Baby, would be deleted. This would not be a good look. 3 dudes of the G-Strip had been crushed. Rabbit, Breezy, and the rest of the clique were now out for blood. Everyone that was in the whip when Chedda and Gucci were crushed had to go by any means necessary. Terrence Butler, aka Chedda Black, was the Florida, certified in the streets and highly respected by his peers. The loss of Chedda Black would be devastating. I can still remember when Leslie Davis, aka Jake, would come walking through the project. Chedda and Merle would rib the fuck out of that boy. Jake and Merle were both sports heads who stayed going at it about stats. That boy Merle was so into sports that he used to copy newspaper just for the sports section and throw the rest away. Gallia Street, dubbed the G-Strip, was where the clique would pump that dog food. They would all use Breezy's mom house in the 1300 block as their headquarters. Before Merle was deleted in 2013, him and Breezy would link up with Kenrick Rodney, aka Lil Man, who would give them a pass to rock with the dudes off of 3&G. The lab where they stepped on the work was a house on LaSalle Street with the cameras aimed at every corner of the block. Breezy would have a pickle jar filled with acid to dissolve the work if them dicks ever showed up. Merle, who had always been a hustler, was getting out of the game and passing the torch to Breezy. The clique would all put in to bankrolls Merle retiring from the game party at the Sports View Lounge on Elysian Fields, complete with ice sculptures embedded with cash. People from all over the city would attend, some of the baddest broads along with hustlers and killers from every hood. A month would pass since the shooting by the Wing Shack. One day in passing, Rabbit would believe that he spotted Bo. It was now payback time. Rabbit and T-Red would switch Cheese Bo's whip with choppers. However, it would turn out not to be Bo at all. They had crushed Lewis Daniels. In another incident that would end up as a violent homicide, Breezy would crush Pig. Breezy, no stranger to the game, felt like Pig was playing on him and hitting his stash. Determined to put this to an end, Breezy would come up with a plan. That plan would soon come into play. Late one night, Breezy would hide under a house, waiting for Pig to go with his move. Just like he thought, Breezy spotted Pig in the area. When Pig walked up, trying to go with his move, Breezy would roll from underneath the house, run down on Pig, shooting him in the face, standing over him to finish the job. As for the murders, the dudes of the G-Strip would feel that they were all justified. They would all allegedly be for a reason. Per Breezy, they weren't just random shootings. It wouldn't be long before the feds would swoop in. 3&G and the G-Strip, aka the 39ers, would all go down on a huge RICO indictment.
One day after the WDSU I-Team broke the story about another sweeping gang indictment in just over a month, the district attorney and the NOPD are speaking out.
Last month, 15 members of the One Tenors gang were charged in a racketeering indictment involving guns, drugs, and murder. Today, similar charges against 20 men with the 3NG gang, also based uptown. 2 men are still on the run, however, Kentrell Hickerson and Kevin Lynch. WDSU anchor Rachel Wolf tells us more about the DA's plans and what public defenders are saying about the case.
We will use every weapon in our arsenal to bring them to justice.
Orleans Parish District Attorney Leon Canizero was firm as he described a 30-count racketeering indictment against 20 men in the 3NG gang. He says the group conspired to distribute illegal drugs and used violence to gain and maintain control over the area where it operated near 3rd Street in South Galvez.
They don't show any breaks to the people of this community. We're going to give them no breaks either.
Authorities say the 3NG gang is responsible for at least 10 murders in the last 5 years, including little Kiara Holmes, killed during a drive-by just before her 2nd birthday in late 2011.
Another baby killed at the ruthless, reckless, cowardly behavior of these gangs. The people of New Orleans has said enough is enough.
This indictment is the 4th indictment stemming from the multi-agency gang unit.
While these cases are more difficult to investigate and prosecute, it allows us to present the whole story to the jury so that they can see the consequences of a pattern of activity rather than looking at a single crime.
Getting these cases to court could prove complex, though, because defendants in each case will be tried together, and every defendant needs their own attorney.
And our office actually is conflicted from representing any of those 15 individuals because we either previously represented some of them or currently represent some of them or represent some of the witnesses who have to be testifying in those cases.
Another possible problem after budget cuts and attrition, there are only 41 public defenders for criminal district court, and that's about a dozen less than last year.
Get ready, because this is what we see to be a very successful sort of prosecution.
On your side in Orleans Parish, Rachel Wolf, WDSU News.
Since the gang unit was formed, Canizero says in state court alone there have been indictments against 35 defendants for 81 different counts and 26 murders.
Breezy and Rabbit will both turn snitch, working with the government seeking to get reduced sentences. Word on the street is that Breezy and Rabbit are short and will be entering the witness protection program. Take that low with a grain of salt, as it is all rumored. This was the final hours of Terrence Butler, a.k.a. Chedda Black.